friendly. Yeah. He's a pilot, of course. Of course, he's spending a lot of time driving for being a pilot.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay. Did you guys get a streaming message?
Streaming is now streaming live on YouTube. Fantastic.
He's a trusting sort, isn't he?
I was surprised at that myself.
I'm just a doorkeeper. You're the brains of the outfit.
Oh.
Okay, so it's streaming, and I gotta go run to the studio for these guys. We have a rehearsal in a little while.
Don't forget to drop the host back to me.
Yep, we'll do it right now. And then make Ray a co-host so he'll manage the waiting room for you.
Certainly. Let's let in Mr. Paskin. There we go. Got the host.
Good to go.
Ray, I'll deputize you.
All right, guys. Have fun. And Josh, thank you very much. Ray, thank you.
Yeah. We'll have a blast.
As always. All right. Very good. I will check in a bit later. I'll drop you a note or something.
We'll see you then. Hello, right. David.
See you guys.
Hey, David. I guess I'm going to put my ears in.
Yeah, I did not see the upcoming events on the Facebook page. David, did you get a notification to come into the test kitchen?
I didn't get a notification. I mean, I have it on my calendar every week, but it was up on Facebook. I did see that.
You did? Oh, okay. Yeah. Was it your personal notification, or was it? I looked in the upcoming events.
It was a post. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. From 3 hours ago.
Okay.
I just click on a link on my calendar for weeks or maybe a month or so.
Gotcha. I'm gonna put something in the office hours Discord so we can get some playmates. And David, you mind if I deputize you as a co-host?
Happy to.
Thank you, sir.
I have to bail about 10 to 5 Eastern. Sorry.
10 to 5. Okay.
I should be having some tearing. What would cause that? I'm torn. I can't hear you, Josh. Why can't I hear you?
Oh, sorry, that was my fault. I said you might have interests in differing areas. That must be a reason for your tearing issues.
I should have thought of that myself.
I think Natalie and Bruglia had something to say about the issue. I dare not play it for copyright reasons.
Good.
Yeah, I do it. Jeff usually plays some opening music, but I think I'm going to err on the safe side and not get any
we did
copyright
that.
strikes.
We did that last week too.
Okay, with David?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, apparently, even if you have copyright-free music, they can still ding you on stuff. So I'm never sure exactly what's absolutely safe.
So you were in court today, I understand. You had
In court?
Yeah, you had a tie on.
I was in another meeting though, a little more formally dressed meeting. So I'm gonna do Control K. Hey,
Dan.
Hello, Dan.
Don't know how long I can stay, but I'd like to see what you guys are up to. Let's see, don't hear you. Let me see.
No, it's because no one's saying anything.
Oh, beautiful.
Hey, Marty.
How are you, Ray?
I'm well, thanks.
Good. Waiting for my ATEM to come back from Black Magic.
What'd they do to it?
Oh, I couldn't get anything out of the USB port. There was no video coming out of it, so had to
Did it
send
just,
home.
it just went bad on you?
Yeah. I just stopped outputting video on the USB port. So I went back home for a refresh.
It didn't
Would
give
you-
any issues about its former owner?
Yeah. No. Haven't heard anything yet. So one of those things.
Was yours extremely hot
No,
as far as being an extreme?
no, not particularly. It ran like 24/7, and I wasn't, didn't use it very often.
I have this cool new fan underneath it, 15 bucks.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
it's nice and cool. And it runs 24/7. The lights are at about 50%.
Right. I had the lights turned down. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The original A10 still working for me. It's a
Yeah.
workhorse.
Good. Well, I just picked up 3 new bird dog cameras,
Whoa.
and haven't had a chance to even break them out of the box yet because I've been so busy. But I'll be evaluating whether to go NDI or HDMI or some opportunities for both.
I will be the proud owner of a Extreme ISO, hopefully shortly.
Good evening, Kuhn.
Hi there. It was a long time.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Cohn. Hello, Ryan.
Are we waiting for Jeff?
Jeff may stop in, but he's passed the host off on to me today.
Oh, welcome.
Thank you.
You can start anytime you want. We usually get stragglers for another 4 or 5 minutes.
Fantastic. So it's going to be a mixed bag today. I didn't get a chance to look at any of the release notes for our latest Zoom client, although I know we were trying to find some of the newer features.
Chat, something about chat. It will recognize words in the chat and try to be, I don't know if that happens while you're typing it, like maybe it highlights the word or something and says, you shouldn't send that.
Oh,
Discrete recommend, I don't know, something like that.
so let's see. Is that in the security settings?
I saw
So
it in the web page settings.
in the web page. Okay. I'm not sure if it's enabled, but I wouldn't be the one to suggest testing it. Like, let's see. So chat is enabled for the meeting. And I think there was there a feature that we were trying to test last week that didn't come to fruition?
There was, if you have people in breakout rooms, according to the release notes in the participant panel, or I'm sorry, in the breakout room panel, you should be able to get some indication of their involvement, if their camera's on, if their mic is on, if their hand is raised. We did try it last week, and I was not able to see any of that information. It could be that although I was the host of the meeting, I didn't start the meeting. He transferred host to me, and I certainly wasn't the owner of the account. So I'm not sure why, but yeah, we couldn't see that.
So you're thinking that perhaps that privileged information is only for the admin?
It's possible. I don't know. It's a good question. I'm also not seeing the settings for the chat piece.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that either. So it occurs to me that I do not have the latest client in my Zoom Test Kitchen. I'm currently on 5.10.3.
Yeah, they just released .4, I think yesterday. Oh crap! Now mine's automatically updating. I'll be back in a second.
We'll see you, David. Don't worry. We'll hold out for you. So I'm just reading what's new in this 0.1 update. It says resolved issues. Resolved an issue for the subset of users regarding sharing their screens on the Brave browser. And resolved an issue regarding the set web domain option. An issue regarding the meeting reminder notification. And the usual security enhancements and bug fixes. It looks like in my current client, I should have enabled chat etiquette tool, one-time password requirement.
That's it.
For suspicious logins.
Can you make that a little bigger, Josh?
Yeah, let me screenshot it. And blow it
Is
up
it
for you.
possible that that's in the chat, in Zoom chat, but not in the chat in meetings? Remember, there's a
Like the phone app.
distinction,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There's this distinction between chat in meetings and chat.
Could be.
That's a good call, David. That might actually be the case. Let's see. Notes. Zoom. So let me blow this up. So these are the previous notes. And is anyone on the latest client now?
As of right now, I am.
Now you are.
Yeah.
Let me get you host back there, David. So I suppose we could do the testing of the breakout rooms.
Oh,
And
wait, I found it. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just found the, let's see if I can bring this up. For the chat piece. That's what I just found. Let me get this for you. Settings. Okay. So it is in the chat, not in meeting chat. So
Okay.
yeah, so here's when you go into chat, here are the settings for chat. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you've got receive notifications for keywords. And then you can put, although this is just notifications. With exceptions for, sorry, I thought the notifications was for the language, but maybe not, because that's not automated. That just alerts me.
And are you able to click on that button that says keywords and
Yeah,
define
I
them?
didn't. Yeah, I just need to change what you guys are seeing here. I don't know what it is. Bear with me, I'm sorry. No, I'm trying to find the right, everything is labeled zoom.us, so I don't know what I'm choosing here. There we go. So this is what pops up. So you can just type in, bad language, obviously you put in the right words, and then you would get notified about that. But this seems to me like a keyword function, not to filter out bad.
Yeah, because it simply alerts you. I mean, looking at the way that it's provisioned, it seems like it's something that would be helpful as a tool more so than just alerting for a bad, bad language, you could, put points of interest and have it alert you to those.
Yeah, I'm
And
just not sure if that's what this update was referring to. Maybe I'm just not seeing it.
Okay. Yeah, and I haven't really delved deeply into. I've done some test. It's been a while since I've done some testing in the Zoom chat features. It seems like Zoom is positioning itself in a way that they want to sort of pick up on their lost ground with the other platforms that have more of a connected nature. So the chat feature, looks like currently, and it looks like they're going to change this somewhat, but you have the Zoom Events chat that has much more robust chatting features and allows networking and connecting with people. And it also allows connecting with people outside of your domain, your Zoom domain. What you got, David?
Yeah, I found it for
All
real
right.
this time. Not so you have to go to the web portal, and up at the top you click on Zoom chat. Under, again, it's one of these weird ones that isn't in your personal settings, it's in your admin settings. So you go to admin account settings, Zoom chat, scroll all the way down to security, and you see, let me scroll, zoom in a little bit. You'll see here the chat etiquette tool. Identify keywords, text patterns in chat, prevent users from inadvertently sharing unwanted messages. And there's simply, it looks like a toggle on off. Let's see what happens when I toggle that on. When this feature is enabled, users are notified when the chat messages trigger chat etiquette policies. Enable, but what are those chat etiquette policies? That's interesting. Then
That would be a setting somewhere else.
no. So as soon as you do that, then you get create chat etiquette policy, name your policy, description, define content to detect, actions when the policy is triggered. Okay.
Interesting. How far are you able to dive into that, David? Can you go into, let's make some fake bad words, maybe?
Yeah. So let's name this profanity. Describe, okay, that's optional, so we don't need that. Select a rule type, keywords or regular expression. I don't know. Let's try regular expression. Add regular expression. Yucky. Save. Next. When this policy is triggered, ask user to confirm sending of the message or block the message.
Yeah, that's what I read about it.
There you go.
And
So
then save.
So they have to really think about it.
Yeah. That's nice, actually. That's a nice, but again, that's not in meeting. That, at least from what I can see, that's in Zoom chat.
Okay, so that is a Zoom chat feature and not a Zoom meeting chat feature. That's good to know. Thanks, David. That's helpful. So let's see. Remove the spotlight. There we go. Yeah, and that's a thing where being able to use those features outside of your domain would be a lot more extensive. Zoom chat, I almost want to be the next WhatsApp, or getting that collaboration working. Well, that's cool. It looks like you can define those. It'd be interesting to see how people utilize those. I'm trying to think of a scenario where you would use that for something other than, was that along the same lines as the notifications? Or was the notifications in chat another feature as opposed to the one specifically for profanity where there's
they're completely separate.
Oh, okay.
It seems
Gotcha.
like, so the keyword, the first one we found, the keyword one was, I want to know when someone's talking about office hours. And so whenever that's mentioned, you'll get a note about that. This is more about, so the only action that can be taken for keyword search is you'll be notified. Here, you can either have the person confirm you actually want to send the message, or you can block the message altogether.
That makes sense. Yeah. And I see in our chat,
I would be curious to know if you could have multiple items set up. One, certain words that you block and certain words that you notify. It seems so, right?
Well, you can set up as many rules as you want in here,
Okay.
so you can have multiple rules. I wonder if so you could have like a profanity rule and then put all of the words separated by commas in there. Then you could have a being mean rule and put all the words that are mean in there. And you can have different actions, it seems, taken for, you can have profanity blocked, but you can have the being mean channel just, you sure you want to be mean?
So if I say Skype sucks, am I being mean or just being? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, and I wonder, there's not possible, David, from the meeting directions you saw, to import a CSV that has a pre-populated list of yucky names in it.
Yeah, it looks like you could probably cut and paste from a text file, but it does. I don't know about a CSV.
That's true. If they take comma separated values, then yeah, you definitely could do that.
And that's a global setting too. So if that's, like I'm the admin of, the whole site here at my university, so that would apply instantly to every account. And it is under the meeting admin tab too, under security is the chat etiquette. So it might just apply to everything.
Will it allow you to assign by group policy?
That's interesting too, because group policy now has some extra capabilities. So yeah, you could put groups of people, or put people.
I'm sorry, where do you see it under the meeting tab? Because there isn't a security.
Here's mine. So I have a
Up
meeting
at the top, and
I
it's
have
there
security,
too.
and it's right.
Oh, that's interesting. So maybe it is in the meeting. It is in the meetings too. Interesting.
You have to be on 561 or later. That's it.
I wonder if the users have to be on 561 or if it's whoever's hosting the meeting.
I would say the users, anyone attending.
Yeah, but this is where you set the policy, right? And not necessarily turning the feature on and off, but where you set the policy.
Oh, it's both.
Yeah, this is I've turned it on globally now for my.
When you switch this, does it change the setting in the meeting, in the user account as well?
Yes.
Oh,
I
don't believe this exists on the user level.
Oh, the one that you
it doesn't. Yeah, because my campus admin does not have it turned on, and I don't see it in my personal meeting setup.
Okay, so it's in both. That's really interesting.
Yeah, so if I don't want anybody to change it even in their account, you hit the lock and then it's permanent.
The settings, but not the policy themselves, right? The settings to have access to the policy, but then the individual users can set their own internal policies at their own level, right?
They can. If I have it locked, they can't turn off that. If that features, I'll have to log in as one of my user accounts to see if it's there.
Good work, Dan. Interesting. So it looks like it's something that they're rolling out, which is something of an interest to us as we're administering meetings. You could have profiles for certain clients that have these. You might ask for their yucky words to bring if you're administering one of their meetings and they've got a yucky word policy. I think we've kind of made. Thanks, David. I think now we have a terminology for these profiles.
I wonder though, I don't remember, was can you turn on and off individual policies? Special characters, yeah. It is comma separated, by the way. I'm just seeing if we can ask you to send, confirm, review, save. So now, see, oh yes, you can. So you can have, so for, if you are hosting a Zoom for someone, you could set up a chat etiquette policy for them. You can have up to 50 and you can activate or deactivate them.
Do you mind scrolling up just a little bit?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Video's blocked. Thank you.
Sorry, my face is in the way. So chat etiquette tool, and this, I'm now in the in meeting one. This is not the chat one. So I created one called Yucky. I put some words in, and then I can deactivate, or so I can have certain ones on for certain meetings.
And it looks like you also have the ability to slide them up and down, maybe as a if you've got quite a bit of policies, maybe one you want on the top.
Yeah, I'll make another one so we can see if we can move them around. I still don't understand the difference between keywords and regular expression. Maybe regular expression is just one phrase. Yeah, it is. So if you do keywords, you can, it's comma separated, hi, bye, and if you try and put a space in, it won't allow you to. And phrases, how you would know exactly what someone would say is interesting, but ask you to actually.
If I'm not mistaken, I think on the regular expression, you can also use grep to kind of formulate, like say you have a bad word that has multiple spellings or variations, past tense, that kind of thing, then you can just say anything before these key letters in that word, in that root, that kind of thing. So
interesting. And yeah, then you can move them around. It doesn't say, I mean, it doesn't, it's really just for your organization purposes, it looks like. Doesn't actually affect anything.
Well, you can have up to 50
of
those policies. So, okay.
That's a lot, or maybe not enough. By the way, to go back to the groups thing, which I set up several groups, but it's like making a macro inside Zoom's settings. And yes, you can trigger that chat etiquette tool for a group. So like I'll have groups where we have toll free, we pay month to month, pay as you go for the toll free number access. And I only put certain people in a group. We'll have group for HD video. We'll have groups for, and so it's like little macros settings.
Oh, interesting. And welcome, Anissa. Didn't say hello. Welcome, Lois. Welcome to Zoom Test Kitchen.
I just have to say, I'm actually making a chat etiquette policy now on profanity. And it's so ironic that in order to make the policy, I'm sitting here typing in all of these terrible profane words. It's.
Yeah, it would seem
they
like
want,
that
they
would
don't
be.
Want to give you them. They don't want to give you the
Rabbi,
list.
Rabbi.
There's probably the lawyers will have a nice little CSV for you already.
George Carlin said there are only 7.
There's more. I'll know them when I hear them.
Thank you, Supreme Court.
Right. Yeah, that is. I mean, it would be something that a comprehensive list, and does it seem that it's a bottomless pit as to the comma segmented options that you can put in. So you could literally just have a single line of a cell, copy, paste, and then there you go. All the all of the yucky words that you could ever hope for, or someone else's yucky words, or
I mean, I'm not going to show you this because now the words are there, but I put in, I don't know, like 10
Goofy?
words.
You put goofy in there, didn't you?
I put goofy. That's what I put in.
So the problem is that people reinterpret words that may not have been considered derogatory in the past, but now are, or they make up brand new words that nobody ever heard of before that are put down words.
yeah. And I think, of course, you know, a simple single set of, you know, comprehensive list of all the bad words that could ever be spoken. You know, it's obviously a cat and mouse game to play. But I noticed that the language surrounding the setting up of that function was protecting hosts from accidentally saying bad words. So maybe a slip of the key, if you will, there might give them some pause. Did you really want to put that word in there? Maybe you'd want to phrase that differently, or change the spelling, perhaps.
Especially when all these chats are being recorded and, kept forever. Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, especially for archival purposes. I would assume that the archives of the copied chats would only keep. I wonder if it would have a sort of like blurred out text for the transcript, or just simply omit them from it. That could be something interesting to test. Unfortunately, I have not implemented it on this account for us to test today, but maybe it's something to put on the list.
I'm gonna, Josh, I'm gonna send you a direct message in chat with one of my words. So don't take offense. It's not directed toward you. I'm a good guy, but I just want to see what happens.
We have our own little disclaimer, like this is just
and
a
it
test.
went right through.
Went right through. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Doesn't
Sorry
it,
about that.
does it only apply to meetings that haven't been started? Like we'd have to stop this meeting and then start it in order
Maybe.
for it to apply? Yeah.
And here's the beauty is that you still can't delete chats. We were talking about that. So now my that's going to be there forever. Great.
That's all right. I'll just keep it away from the fan and we should be okay. So
Can't stop me what I write on the screen either.
that's coming. That's coming, Dan. And some of the later iterations, they'll have a Dan clause. Lois, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I'm sitting in the car with an iPhone, so I don't have all my buttons. I came in late. Sorry about that. Are you talking about something which currently exists or something that's coming as far as the saving the chat and stuff? Because we have always been able to save chat, but is this something different?
Yeah. So what we're talking about, Lois, was the chat etiquette, I believe it's called, chat etiquette feature that has just recently been implemented. And it seems like this is something that your users can come in with 5.6 and later and be able to utilize this. What it is a, I guess it's two things, but you can put it in a comma segmented list and save that list in a profile in which you have the option to either block the text directly or make them think twice about entering it. So it seems like it's somewhat of a, are you sure you want to say that potentially function. The reason we were discussing chat is that the chats are sometimes archived. So that would be something to help your chat be more PG rated.
Are you saying that I know that individuals can save chats. Are you saying they're also archived for the meeting as a meeting?
This is independent of the archive function. But since the meeting may have archived chats, having this feature would prevent someone for, say, accidentally putting in a word that they would probably not like to have on the record of a recorded chats. I know some of our clients have requested capturing of the chats for them, which also brings up another issue we were talking about briefly, and that is maybe your client, if they're being hosted on your account, maybe they've got their own profile or their own list of words in which they could, I guess in order to share this, you'd have to almost go in, copy, paste it into maybe an Excel cell, and then it's not really an import feature that we've been able to see yet, to where you can import your client's yucky words list, chat etiquette feature.
Can I ask you a question about that? I haven't done a lot of this work, but most of the work that I have done with other folks using Zoom, we've always used their accounts. Do you all have, would you ever use your own account to host someone else's event?
That's a good group question. I can answer it yes and no. Depends on the client, depends on the meeting. But I would agree, David, that in my case, most of the time, we're given permission to facilitate the meeting for their account. Is that everyone else's experience?
Yeah, I'd say if a client wanted to utilize features that I have on my account that they may not have on their account, I would use it and I'd charge them appropriately for it.
Perhaps like a 1080p instance of the account, Marty?
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I'm not in business to do this, but I do help various clubs and groups and people get on. And so if they're just doing a one-time thing, it's easier for me to just create a new meeting in my own account than to deal with the fact that, they've got a free account, it'll die after 40 minutes, or they don't know how to do this or that. So for ease, if it's a one-time thing, I'll do that. And if they're going to do it regularly, I'll walk them through buying a basic account and getting set up and finding somebody in their group who can handle the techie stuff.
By the way, Lois, speaking of the 40-minute thing, did you all notice that I read somewhere, correct me if I'm wrong, that Zoom is changing they're adding the 40-minute limit to one-to-one meetings in addition to group meetings. Did anyone else see that?
I'll let the group call, but I have an experience with this, but go ahead.
I didn't see that, but I did find that they had been, when the pandemic started, they had a 40-minute limit that they didn't enforce, and they're now starting to enforce it. That's the change that I noticed.
Oh, I've seen them enforce it all through COVID for free counts. And is that what is that?
Yeah, only high education, K through 12.
Oh, it might have been
and higher ed.
Mm-hmm. And David, on the one-to-one accounts, do you mean on the free version or on a pro version?
Yeah, on the free, but now I
version.
can't, maybe I just had a nightmare about this because now I can't find it. But yeah, it was specifically on the free accounts.
I didn't know that was not limited.
Yeah, could always...
it's actually 30 hours, I believe, for one-to-one. Here we go. It's so free meeting is unlimited group meetings for up to 40 minutes, unlimited one-to-one meetings with a 30-hour time limit per meeting. That's what it is now, but again, I have to see if something's changing.
That comes up a lot in the Zoom community. The teachers that do a one-to-one teaching want to bring another device in, right, to share, and they don't have all the equipment like we do, right? And they get the 40-minute. They go, that's the same account. I'm logging in and get, on an iPad. And they go, well, you could bring the iPad into your meeting, your existing meeting, but don't join as a second person, right?
Can you explain
Yeah,
that, Dan?
No, say I posted the policy in the chat as I found it.
Oh, thank you. Starting May 2nd. So that has not yet happened.
Oh,
It's
you
changing
found
the
it.
meeting duration. So
Did you find
basic
it?
users on free and free credit card verified accounts to 40 minutes. This change creates a uniform 40-minute meeting duration limit for all meetings hosted by basic users on free and free credit card verified accounts, including group meetings and one-on-one meetings.
Where did you find that?
I found it on the Zoom support page. I posted it in the chat.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't see it there.
There's
So-
a second part to it.
So here's a question. If I start a meeting, I'm in it, I'm alone, somebody comes and joins me, and then they leave, and another person comes 5 minutes later and joins me. I haven't stopped my meeting at all. I'm just leaving the room open and people come in when it's their turn or whatever. Would that trigger something? Because it's not two people all the time, but it is open all the time. Anybody have knowledge of that?
What kind of account do you have, Lois?
Basic. Well, I have basic, but I was thinking of my friend who has free.
So you have a basic pro account. Is that correct?
Right. So I won't have any problem doing that because basically I can have the thing running a long time. But I was thinking of other people, if the 40-minute thing would stop or the 30-minute thing would stop. If someone came in and then left, I guess that's something they'd have to try, huh?
Can I just clarify? Because basic is the free plan. There's basic, pro, business, enterprise. So do you have a pro plan?
Excuse me. I keep thinking basic is the lowest paid plan, but you're right. It's pro plan.
Oh, okay.
Paid, and basic plan is free plan. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Got you. Have you noticed, Lois, well, you wouldn't notice it until it's coming. I actually had an experience on using another account that has 1080p on it, and I scheduled a meeting, and I had more than 3 people in the meeting, and I got the 40-minute warning. And I thought, well, I must have scheduled it on the wrong account, obviously, because this account had 1080p enabled on it. So I rescheduled it again, and 40-minute applied. I didn't get a chance to really dig into it. It would be interesting to try and see if that was the case, but it actually said on there 40-minute meeting. Had it pretty well documented up at the top that this was going to be a 40-minute meeting, and shouldn't have been. I wonder if anyone else has run into any similar experiences. And another thing is, am I correct in thinking that a Zoom room can save a 40-minute meeting? Because, spoilers, I tried it and it didn't. So when we went into our second meeting, I thought, oh, well, I'll save it with a Zoom room. Yeah, it didn't save it. So the Zoom room into the meeting, it didn't seem to make a difference. Sounds like I'm the only one with this experience. Okay. I'll have to do some testing and make sure exactly what counts that I had on it. I may have used the email address for my pro account, but based on the language that Joe put in the chat, that should not have been affected by this, if I'm reading it correctly.
I would think nothing would be affected until May 2nd. So anything that you experience today wouldn't be affected by this change.
Yeah, that's the way I'm reading it too. It was an oddity. I had made In fact, I believe I have to go back and look and see. I'll have to log into that account and see just what account that I had created on, because it was a bit of a surprise on my end to have that 40-minute pop up. I don't think I actually, from the main accounts that I use in Zoom, there's like maybe one that's a basic. So, but even still, like you said, Joe, it shouldn't have kicked in based off of what they're telling us for this edict that starts at May 2nd. Welcome, Pete. Glad to have you.
Thanks. Just testing my mic here, making sure we're working. Thanks.
Coming in loud and clear. So it's one thing that we might do. I don't know if anyone had any agenda. One of the things that we might try is to see if the breakout attention feature works. I was looking at last week's session. It looked like that was something that we had attempted without any joy. And let's see, David, with your update, it doesn't look like there's any features that were added with the exception of the Brave browser add-in for 5.10.4 over 5.10.3. Go ahead, Lois.
So since I'm on a phone today, which is unusual for me, if you have any tests that you want done with a phone, I'll be here for about another 15, 20 minutes, and I'd be happy to be the guinea pig.
Fantastic. Looks like you have enabled your 16.9, Lois, coming in with HD, and let's see, are we getting...
I haven't got a clue what you're talking about. I haven't enabled anything. I just turned the sucker on. It forced me to update before I could even enter.
He said you have
Fantastic.
horizontal video instead of vertical video. You must be holding
No, I
your
know what he
phone
meant. I
correctly.
haven't done anything.
That's funny.
It just happens.
Well, you don't have pillar boxing, so you have the 16.9. It appears to me that you have 16.9 video, which if you, there's a setting when you start your phone that you can turn on HD, which will give you 720p in 16.9. If you don't turn it on from a phone, you can always tell because you've got the pillar boxes down the side and it's in a 4.3 instead. You appear to be 16.9 to me, but I only see it coming in as...
And I think,
how do you turn
I
that
think
on?
that's normal.
Yeah. Can you repeat that last part one more time? I wanted to double check.
Sure. I had a graphic here that showed where it is. So it's not something you can do in meeting. It's a setting that you'll have to close the app, change the setting, and then re-enter the meeting. But what you can do inside of the settings, if you're on a mobile phone, they now enable 720p mode, which is 16.9. And previously, you'll know people that are contributing in Zoom on their phones that haven't enabled the feature because
I can show
they'll
you
have
if you
the
want.
little pillar boxes. Oh, great.
If you'd like to see it, I can show it to you. Yeah. So interestingly enough, just on the way to that, I now have this pop-up before I can do anything saying that there's a chat policy. So I'm going to try and join our meeting and oh, shut up, Sadie. Sorry, that's my dog. Can someone just tell me the meeting code for this meeting? So I can put it in here.
It is, meeting ID is 894.
Yep.
2530.
Yep.
9471.
Great. And do your passcode 2. Okay, join. Then I'll put in the password.
Passcode is lowercase
Yeah, I got
z.
that. I got that. Don't worry about it. Okay, so now allow. So now presumably when someone, I'm not going to do audio. Oh, I'm already in. Okay, so to enable this, to enable HD, what do you do?
I think it's a setting in your phone rather than a setting in your Zoom, isn't it?
Well, no.
It's in the Zoom app, and you would want to. Actually, sorry, David. I think you would have had to have done that prior to joining the meeting.
Yeah, I think so. So let me do
Yeah,
that.
because the app won't let you, if you do more, bottom. Yeah, and then
Here it
HD
is.
video.
Here it is, HD video right there.
Right.
Right. What's interesting about Lois's camera is that she appears to have 16:9 video, but just not HD video. So Lois, perhaps that's something that you can try. You will have to leave the meeting, but if you saw the settings in David's phone, that's where they're located in the settings pane. You'll be able to hit that toggle on the right for HD video. And right now we have you coming in at less than HD. Let's see.
So when I turn it vertical, what happens? Is it still the same shape, but it just puts black bars, or does it change the shape?
Yeah, what it does is it fits the same shape. Well, it's actually seems to me like similar shape into the vertical.
So 9:16. So
actually, let's see. Do I have you? So I'm going to stop spotlighting David. And actually, I believe, Lois, I wonder if you have that. Can you turn it to horizontal again, please? Now, I have you pinned.
That looks like there are no boxes.
There's no pillar boxes. I wonder if that's a change from Zoom. Now, I'm not getting 720p from you. I'm getting 360, 270. It's bouncing around a little bit. But
I don't know whether it is using the Wi-Fi of the building I'm sitting next to, or if it's using the phone setting. I'm assuming it's the phone setting, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, and if you're any distance away from your Wi-Fi, the phone setting would probably work best. Do you mind trying that, Lois? You will have to log out and then find the setting in your Zoom app settings of HD video. And David, what was the path to that setting again?
Sure.
For Lois?
Yep. So I'm going to bring it up here. Bear with me. All right. So you open Zoom, and then you click on More at the bottom. Go into Meetings. And if you scroll down, HD is right there under the video toggle.
Okay, I'll be back. At least I'll try to get back.
All right. We'll keep the lights on for you, Lois.
And I did the same on mine. I'm on my iPhone in the meeting as well in HD.
Fantastic.
The other one of me is in.
Got you. Let's see. Which one is it? The one looking up?
The one without the Zoom background.
Without the Zoom background. Okay, got you. All right, let's pin you. Second screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and probably everyone know this, but in order to determine what the resolution someone's coming in, if you pin it, that'll be your received input. Right now, I'm getting, it wants to go to 720p. It's close. It's 630. At about 20 frames per second. So it's pretty close. And is that Wi-Fi or cellular that you're on?
This is Wi-Fi.
That's on Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. Okay, I just saw you pop into 720p, so we've got you now.
Okay.
720p video.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it. Okay.
Yeah, what's interesting to me is it's the first I've seen. Typically, the HD video was necessary for not just 720p, which is by definition high definition video, but for the 16:9 without having the pillar boxes. But Lois was coming in not pillar box. I wonder if it was either stretching or if Zoom has changed its mobile. I'm actually, I'm going to come in on my phone and see, now this one phone, I'm going to come in on a phone that I know I haven't switched it to and see if I get 4:3 video.
This is HD. It was HD. I didn't change anything. I'm back.
Ah, okay. So HD, that's the reason why we were seeing you in 16:9 aspect ratio without the pillar boxes. Okay. So
But
you simply
said it wasn't HD.
Yeah, so funny thing about HD, it's one of the most abused technical terms in the industry. HD, by definition, is 720p by 1280 resolution video. But in the early days of televisions, anything that had a 16:9 aspect ratio, like theater mode, they were calling HD. So you could have a screen that had that same size of square, with the same aspect ratio, and whether it had the resolution or not, they would call it. Now, full HD is 1080p, 1080 by 1920 is typically that definition. So Zoom, further conflating that issue, I guess ticking that box gets you at minimum that aspect ratio where you don't have the pillar boxes in the 16:9. And if you've got the bandwidth for it, possibly it'll give you the full 720p. Recently we did a coverage of our NAB, National Association of Broadcasters, and one of our remote contributors was using their phone. Was using an Asus Zenfone with it. They had the HD turned on for their contribution, and they had a wired Ethernet connection going into a bonded cellular network for a contribution. And it worked out pretty decently in the sense that it gave the full phone's resolution coming back. So we had in 16:9, 720p, 720 by 1280 for their video feed. And it worked out pretty good. But that is the max that you can get from a phone client. It also has one other gotcha. So for those of us that have 1080p accounts, it's just another issue where you're going to lose that 1080p in your meetings. So I don't know how many of us have access to a 1080p meeting, but in the past, this is something that was brought down by iPads. If we're familiar with that, iPads have the unique distinction, previously unique distinction, is that they required more resolution than your phones, which would top out at 360p prior to adding this feature. So if an iPad was in your meeting and you were in the active speaker, what would happen is Zoom would create an HD feed for them, but it wouldn't create two HD feeds. So the HD feeds I'm speaking about are 720p or 1080p. So there's HD or full HD. Zoom doesn't create two HD feeds. It creates one or the other. And so if an iPad is there, the iPad can't support the 1080p. So Zoom will send it 720p, which basically means it's not going to send a different feed. If, say, my video, I'm in active speaker right now and I'm speaking. So it's going to, if there's an iPad watching my video, Zoom's going to create a 720p video for it. It's not going to create an additional 1080p for any of the other participants that aren't iPads. So effectively, an iPad's watching you in a meeting, you'll be limited to 720p because of that iPad
I'm dragging you
stipulation.
down. That's what you're saying. I'm dragging you down.
That explains a lot.
Is that true for the iPhone too?
So up until recently, no. And the reason why phones didn't have this functionality is because phones were not capable of an HD feed, meaning the phones couldn't get 360p. So it didn't really matter for phones because the Zoom will send, if you've noticed in the gallery view, it'll make like a 90p for like the little thumbnail image of you in the gallery, especially if you have like small galleries. And then it would make like a 180p for like a little larger gallery view with like just a few videos in it, or a little thumbnail that comes on the top. And then your basic resolution is 360p for a regular meeting. So unless you've asked Zoom to upgrade your account to an HD meeting, which is 720p, then your typical meeting, your typical pro meeting is limited to 360p, which is just fine. That's the resolution that phones are acceptable using. As far as 720p, on the other hand, for those accounts, let's see, where was I going with that? So, the reason why phones don't matter. Yeah, so given that the phones don't have a capability, well, up until recently, didn't have a capability to go to 720p, it didn't really matter. Zoom could send out a 1080p signal to everyone in the meeting if a phone was watching you, because it couldn't get the 720p anyway. So it didn't change the HD feed that Zoom was sending from 1080p to accommodate the phone, because the phone can't get the 720p. So a phone watching you will not pull your video down to 720p. And when I say watching you, what I mean is, right now, if a phone pins you, so they're watching you, so they'll need your feed or an iPad, or if you're an active speaker, obviously, if someone has their phone an active speaker, they're watching your video in your video feed. So now with 720p is something that you can enable with phones. Now, not only iPads can drop you down from 1080p to 720p, but now phones have the ability. And we have tested it, and it works the same way. So any 720p only capable device, like a phone, that has that enabled. Now they're not enabled by default. So I'm assuming, Lois, that at some point you went ahead and upgraded your setting, or just set the settings to HD in there. So that's good news in the sense that if people, it's not a factory default setting. They will have to change that setting in order to knock our 1080p down to 720 if they come into the meetings. But it works both ways. Not only is it something that they'll be able to receive on their end, but our live contributor at NAB, we wanted them to turn on their HD setting so that they could send us 720p, which looks a lot better than 360p.
So right now, with the settings the way they are, am I bringing you down or not?
Now, Lois, you're never bringing us down.
And how would you know? How would you know?
So the way to test it, good question, Lois. So the way to test it is to, first of all, verify that we have 1080p in the meeting. And so what we can do is I can look around and find someone that's not currently speaking. Right now, I'll pick on David Paskin. So I'm going to pin you to my second screen. There we go. And I'm going to look at my statistics. Currently, I'm not seeing David. Okay, David, I'm not getting 720p from him. Let me try someone else. See if I can find a 1080p in our meeting here.
I'm getting 1280 on a couple of people.
Yeah, I've not seen 1080 yet. It's the only way to definitively test it is to, oh, David, okay. A gentleman that's remained silent. Whoops, wrong button. Sorry about that, Dan. I blew the witness protection, the 1080p protection program for you. Okay, let me pull that back. Pin, see. There we go. Let's see. Now, no, Dan, I'm not getting it from you either. So the only way to know definitively, so sorry.
Is that because I'm limited to 760?
Not necessarily. So there is one stipulation for a phone or an iPad to bring the quality down, and that is that it has to be a video feed that device is watching in full screen. So if you are in Lois, I assume if you're in gallery view, so if you're watching, if you slide across and change the setting.
I'm watching as many of you as I can at once, and it has myself as a little tiny thing in the corner.
Got you. So you're in the gallery view in the phone, and does it support four people at a time, Lois?
No, it's got 6 up, but it is a continuous scroll. So I see everyone if I just move my finger down a little bit. You don't have to slide to a new page. It's just continuous scroll.
Once again, the iPhone app works much better than the Android app on Zoom. It's not like that on Android. Yeah, you got the little 4 boxes on there. The iPad app is miles better than the Android one as well. Technically, because Android doesn't really have a tablet operating system. It has a big phone for an operating system, whereas iPad OS is a thing. But yeah, that's great. So the experience is a bit better. So in theory, Lois, what I would say that if you're in gallery view, which is the way that you're viewing, I wouldn't expect a 720p feed to be generated from your phone on us. So you shouldn't be causing an issue. I'm guessing. We haven't tested it, but it's something maybe we can do, since I've not gotten, there's a couple of reasons why we may not have it. The only way to tell definitively is to verify that we have it here in the meeting. And if the meeting is not set up for 1080p, it's hard to test whether something is causing the 720p drop or not.
You want me to leave for a while? I think I'm the only phone in here, right?
We could put you in a breakout room. Would you rather do that?
Sure.
Hey,
Jeremy, I
Josh.
see your hand. Are you admitting to to bring a device into the meeting? I assume you're not
I'm on
lugging
an
your
iPhone
computer
13.
around. Okay, and you've
I have
got
that right here as well, but currently on an iPhone 13.
And what view are you currently looking at, Jeremy?
Speaker view, just with your image.
Okay, got you. So I should be limited currently, and I am. I'm only sending 720p. But the way that I was going to say, there's a joke about 1080p in Zoom. It's if someone sneezes, you're at 720p. So there's lots of different things that can bring you down to 720p to have a definitive test. We were able to test it definitively in after hours, where I was getting 1080p, and then I brought my phone to bear on a video, and I watched it go down, and then we removed it, and it turned on. So that's the definitive way to test whether a certain device is causing it locked down. And I see Ray. Ray, it looks like you are coming in on 4.3 in vertical mode. Is that correct?
My picture of me on the phone is vertical, but when I see the screen, the Zoom meeting, it's horizontal. If I turn my phone horizontal, and I'm on an Android phone.
Okay,
I
got you.
turn it horizontal, both me and the little screen are both horizontal.
I see that. And you're in 4.3 because I see 640 by 480 or 480 by 640. So that is a 4.3 aspect ratio. So what you could do, Ray, so that
and I also have to scroll through this way in Android to see the gallery. Gotcha. Is that the similar way that the iOS app works? No, she said it was just a constant scroll. I actually have to go to a new screen.
And my scroll is not everybody horizontal. These are squares. So I have 6 squares with your faces in them. And then I scroll down and I see more squares. So whatever's in the center of your image is what I'm seeing.
Okay. Yeah, that might be something helpful to document for a safety shot. So those of us in production and we're looking at our productions going out on different mediums, having a safety shot in different aspects is something when we're considering if we make super sources, if we're cutting with an ATEM or vMix or something where we're creating different sources, it might be helpful to have a safety shot that you can get the participant's head in the shot regardless of what device they're using and what orientation. There might be some resources that will be helpful to produce, and I'm sure the community would benefit from it. Joe, looks like you're coming in on a phone as well.
I've got to go now, so I'm glad you had enough opportunity to test with my phone, and I'll see you another week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Lois.
We'll see you,
Lois, real quick. Lois, I just want to let you know I'm about to pull off the freeway in Davis to get some gas.
Where? I'll meet you.
So I'm right in your neighborhood. I just got off, or I'm about to get off on a Richards to go around, and I'm just gonna get some gas real quick and hop back on the freeway going to Elk Grove for a concert gig. So.
Next time you come by, plan it. We'll meet.
Jeremy, you
missed
an
opportunity. Get coffee or something.
She was going to pay for your gas, Jeremy. I mean, it's up to you.
Oh, client will do that. That's all right.
Bye-bye, guys.
Thanks, Lois.
We'll see you, Lois.
Hey, Josh, I got a question for you.
Sure.
So I'm running OBS into Zoom right now, 1920 by 1080. And my stats are changing all the time here on it.
Gotcha. So I'm receiving 720p from your camera.
Yeah.
Pete.
But that's through OBS now. It's not directly into Zoom.
Okay. So your camera's coming into OBS and you're using the virtual cam to get into Zoom.
Yeah.
Gotcha. One thing that you might see, unfortunately, someone sneezed and we don't have 1080p in the meeting. So, that's the joke. It's like, we think we know the general, limitations of 1080p, but they're manifold. There's many ways you could wind up losing it. But one thing in OBS you'll want to check for to make sure that if you're in a qualifying meeting that you get the full 1080p is you'll want to make sure that your canvas size and output size are at least 1080p in order to present that meeting. So let's talk about some of the other things that could limit your output to not 1080p. So that's one of them. If in OBS your output size is not 1080p, you're not producing a 1080p image. And so even if you're in a qualifying meeting and none of the devices that drop you down to 720p are on you, doesn't matter, you're not providing 1080p, 720p, then you can't. Also, there are, I did contact Zoom with their HD requirements. And if I could, maybe I'll look it up, but they sent me back a list of the minimum specifications for a device in order to use 1080p. And I can summarize it in the sense that they had the type of processor, the number of cores, and what was it, type of processor, number of cores, and the generation of the processor. So we had, one of the latest gen processors, i5, i7, and it also depended on how many screens you had. There's a single screen experience that had a certain stipulation, and there's a dual screen experience that had higher specs to run 1080p in, and it had a 3-screen experience, which I'm assuming applies to Zoom Rooms. So that's the only device that I know of that qualifies for the 3-screen experience. But I could be wrong. If anyone knows, then let me know.
Is that list available for anyone? Can you put it in the chat room, or is it a link or something?
Yeah, it is. The link that I got back, the reply that I got back was it was to the Zoom documentation. So let me search for that, and I will put that link down in the chat. There was, now the ticket is still outstanding, the one that I had researched, because my specific request was I was trying to outfit a device for Zoom Rooms. And I have a pretty wimpy PC, Surface, that I put the Zoom Rooms on, and it got 720p. And the funny thing about it is, like, this is a pretty wimpy PC. It's like a Surface Pro 4 with like 4 gigs of memory, i3. Like, it's pretty wimpy. Screen's broken, but it makes a good Zoom room. In fact, it's sitting next to me now. This thing runs like a champ at 720p for a Zoom room, so I can capture NDI feeds of 720p, no problem. 3 of them all day long. Not 1080p though. And so my request to Zoom was asking them, okay, what is the minimum specs? So if I wanted to spec out a Zoom Room PC, I wanted to know just what do I have to, what kind of device do I have to buy? And so I installed the Zoom Room software on my Surface Pro 7 that has a quad core with 8 threads processor, i7 with 16 gigs of RAM, and it worked. So I got with the higher spec machine, I was able to get 1080p out of it. But those fans, like, it was running like, so I went from an i3 Surface Pro 4, almost nothing, to running 720p without a sweat. Actually, I don't think that thing even has a fan, so it doesn't even have a cooling fan on it, to like panting on my Surface Pro 7. Like, it was not happy about the task that I'd commissioned it on. But it got the 1080p feeds, but it was like really push it. So it's humorous to me. The jump from 720p to 1080p as far as specs requirement is pretty substantial as far as hardware. So it is possible that the lack of 1080p could be for a number of reasons. One of it could be you simply don't have the hardware to generate it on your device, or it could be for any of the other reasons we have, or someone sneezes and then you don't have it. Go ahead, David.
Hey, just an update from last week. Last week we talked a little bit about the thumbs up, the visual gesture thing. I have since turned that off because, as it turns out, I'm a hand talker, and I had thumbs going up and my hand going up all the time when I didn't intend it to, and even with that 5-second delay on the hand raise. So I went from this is really cool to what a pain in the tush really quickly. So
what a pain in the chat etiquette this is. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Fantastic. I did find the specifications for Zoom. Maybe we could, I guess, unless someone has another path we'd like to head down, we can. Let me see. I'll post it in the chat. So this is the results. Make sure it's for everyone. There you go. So it's right from the Zoom support articles, and it has using Group HD video, last updated end of January this year. So this is the current documentation that we're looking at now. And Group HD mode will activate 720p video quality for the active speaker video layout in a group meeting. For full high definition 1080p video is limited to business and enterprise plans or exceptions. So yeah, so they do give, if you scroll down, oh, here's another thing that'll kill your 1080p. David saw it. Virtual backgrounds. Yeah, virtual backgrounds means that you are solidly in the 720p area.
Or the 360 area, as it says, for some lower end Windows computers.
Yeah, and that's a load requirement. So it could be that you might have the specs for the full HD, and then you squander it with a virtual background. So just so you know. And they do have, so here's the prerequisites for standard HD 720p. So pro business, educational, or enterprise account. Setting must be enabled in Zoom support for 720p Pro. That's another thing. So if your settings on the meeting isn't in it, you won't get 1080p. Full screen meeting window in Zoom on the desk client. This is an interesting one too. So when I pinned Peter's video to see what resolution he was at, if I actually have the physical video size in it, assuming it's not in full screen, the window has to be of sufficient size in order to warrant that resolution. Like Zoom is a data miser, which is great, which is the reason why we're able to use it in such, less optimal conditions. They are really picky about what bandwidth they're sending. So if you have a screen that doesn't warrant sending high definition video to it, Zoom won't bother to send you that feed.
Josh, is that also a commentary on, if you don't have it full screen, the assumption is you're not really paying attention, and therefore you don't need. No, I'm serious, and therefore you don't need to be sending 720.
It's not. It's not, and the reason I know is because I tested the threshold. I have two 4K screens that obviously have plenty of resolution for a 1080p feed, right? And I tested the threshold of how big I had to make the window. So the Zoom window, what I did was, I'll show you kind of. So what I did was I pulled my second screen video here, and let's say this is my window, right? And I just, if it's too small, then Zoom will send you 720p. Yeah, it'll send you 720p. And in fact, let's see. So I'll pull I wonder if I could simulate it here. So here's my stats. You may not be able to read the stats though. So let's see. I'm receiving 360p right now with Peter's video, and I'm going to enlarge it. Let me see if I can make him go 720. There you go. So you see, as I pulled him larger, and it did a little funky resolution.
I did that right now, actually. I was playing with my
Oh, man, Peter. Rats. So what did you do?
Yeah,
well,
wait, what just happened?
There's times when
I'm getting 1080p video. Woohoo!
Oh yeah. There's times
nobody sneeze.
Adjusted the window of OBS, and that changes the output.
Yep.
Also, so I'm trying to play with it now. I may have to stop the virtual camera and do it, and maybe start it up again. But
it's in the industry we call an obstacle.
How big your video production window is affects the holy mackerel.
This is in OBS, okay?
Right, but I assume that's true in is it safe to assume that would be true in vMix or Ecamm or any of those others also?
So I'm playing with it now. Are you seeing any changes, Josh?
So right now I got you in 1080p, and I'm going to try and shrink you and see if I can squeeze the 1080p out of you there. And I did. So if you notice, he's now in 360p from my account when I squashed his window down to this small size. Now if I pull him up, it's 720. Let's
Josh,
see if I can.
What is the numbers that are changing? Is that the quality that you are experiencing, or as the host, is that the quality that all of us will experience of him?
Well, you can play along at home. You can see what I'm doing. I've now got him in 1080p here, as you can see. So here's the interesting thing. The video that I'm showing you on, and you would think that it's a 1-to-1 pixel thing. It's not. Yes, surprise, surprise. So you need sufficient real estate on your screen to warrant the 1080p. And this is why I know it's not them doing a attention thing. It's more of them, although, in years future, they'll be like, if you're not paying attention, then we're not going to send it. But, the eye tracking next, just wait for that in version 6. But what it is they determine that you don't have sufficient screen real estate to warrant sending the bandwidth to you if the window is not big enough. And this is something that's helpful if you're doing screen scraping or capture of your client's video that's not in a full screen. You may not be getting the full resolution if you're doing that. So if you notice, I don't know how legible my screen is, but right now I have Peter in 1080p. So I have him in 1080p, and let me see. The thing is, I got to kind of grab. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just squash this video down a little bit, and you see what happened? Now he's in 720p, just with that little tiny bump. And I used to know the exact pixel layout that you needed because I have a tool on my desktop that measures, like, you can pop things into the screen and it tells you how wide and how long the pixel length is. The thing is, this screen that I have Peter on right now is a 1080p screen, and I have him at a portion of my screen. So as you can see, it's not a 1-to-1. Like, you actually don't need 1920 by 1080 pixels on your screen for Zoom to warrant it sending 1080p. It's less than that. But you do have to have over whatever the threshold is. And I got really good at figuring out just exactly where that threshold was. So if I just increase him a little bit more, let's see if that was good enough to do it. There you go. Now I've got him in 1080p again. And he is, and if I go to, just to show you, he's not covering my full 1080p screen. And yet this is like the threshold that you need to pull down the 1080p. Now, why that's helpful is I'll set for my computer, I set my common window that my second screen sits at, and I have it set to pop open into the very minimum 1080p requirements for that screen. So it's helpful. And I used to know what those pixels are, but you can experiment the same way I did and figure it out for yourself. As you know, if you're looking to, size it, or maybe for bandwidth, you'd prefer to push it just underneath that threshold so that you're saving some of your download. So that might be another strategy if you want to be a little more of a miser on what Zoom is sending you. But yeah, it's actually a subset of 1080p to get that. And this is whether I have it here on my 1080p screen or if I put it on one of my 4K screens. It's about the same pixel size that Zoom will warrant that video resolution to send.
So Josh, I am adjusting my OBS screen. I don't see anything changing in Zoom. Is it doing anything?
When you say you're changing your OBS screen, do you mean that you're changing the OBS app screen?
I am shrinking it, expanding it.
That shouldn't matter because we're not, that doesn't materially change what you're sending out on your virtual cam. So whatever your wallpaper is, what you will want to look at is in OBS. If you look at your, well, you can't do it while you're virtual cam. So if I turn my virtual cam off, if you do so, you'll see at the top it says profile. If you hit that profile button, you'll be able to look at, actually, you know what? Did I lie? I might have lied a little bit. Let's see. Settings. You might be able to get to it in settings. Oh, I did a freezy. There we go.
Where are you looking again?
You know what? If you look in, let's see, video, or wait, let's see, where is this at? Output. Yeah. So you may not need to turn off your virtual cam. So if you look in your settings under output, and at the top, actually, let me show you. I can just show you on there.
Yeah.
So there we go. So if you look at the top, turn your output mode to advanced, and that you may have to turn your virtual cam off to make the adjustment. If it says simple here, it needs to be advanced to show you all of the settings.
I'm on it too. I changed mine. It changed okay.
Okay. And is this the right setting? Let's see, video. Oh, there you go. Okay, so in video, you'll see there's a base canvas size resolution, and these settings are locked as long as your profile is busy with your virtual cam.
Okay.
Mine says 1080p for my base canvas, and then the output scaled resolution says 1080p as well. If this says 720p, don't expect 1080p from OBS.
Okay, my virtual cam is off, but I still can't change it here.
Yeah, and in the profile settings, my video is going to go off, so I'll turn my virtual cam off. Nope, not with my settings open. I won't. Let's see if it'll let me do that. Yep. Okay, and then if you look in your profile, and then if you pop it open in the profile, you can select different ones. So you can pick a new one. And this profile that I'm using, I've labeled it as 1080p 30. So that profile is set with those settings in OBS.
Okay.
So yeah, that's one of the sneeze factors in getting 1080p is you have to be sending it. So whichever, I'm not familiar with, vMix, same thing, OBS, probably Ecamm on the Mac. You would want to make sure that whatever your output is, at least supports that. You got to have a source that can support it, or you will not see it. So we might be able to test, and let me know if anyone has any other areas we'd like to look around for. But now that we have verified at 1080p, we can do some testing on that if you like.
So I have a question regarding that. So I have a pro account, so I got 720. So am I ever going to receive anything greater than 720? Because I'm not. I'm only, no matter what I do with the sizing, even though I got a 1080 monitor, I'm only getting 720 max. Is it because of my pro? I have the pro account. Is that possible?
Yeah. So the answer is, in your meeting, yes. So a meeting that you create on your account, you should only expect 720p. Now, if you visit your friend with a 1080p account and you bring the hardware capable of 1080p, your friend gets the benefit of seeing you in 1080p in their meeting that they create.
Right, but me as the client side, I'm only going to get a maximum 1080 of 720 coming back to me from you.
Yes.
I think so. Okay.
In your meeting, yes.
Okay. So now just a fun idiosyncrasy. Okay. So you were when you were changing the size of the other gentleman on the screen, so we could see the resolution change. You'd grab the corner of the screen and you'd keep the aspect ratio of your window 16 by 9, but this is the crazy part. If you were to take that, instead of grabbing the corner, grab the right edge and just shrink the one aspect and not the other aspect, even though his video is shrinking way down, your resolution stays high.
Interesting. Ha ha ha. Oh.
Wait, is it not true?
No, it is. No, it is true. Check that out.
Now, if you shrink it from the top, you'll see it go down again.
You're right.
It's only measuring one direction.
I've seen that happen. I've seen that happen with changing the window of OBS. It'll change the output. It's not doing it now, but I've seen it before.
Interesting. So let me show you my window in OBS. I am in studio mode in OBS. So this is my OBS window here. Is this the window that you're talking about changing the size of?
Yes.
This window here?
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that changing this window, this is simply your controls. This is how you're viewing your controls. I wouldn't think that this has any difference in the output of your virtual cam to display things. This simply is your user experience as to whether you can see all of your scenes and cams and if it's big enough for you. I could be wrong, but I don't think that changing the size of this window has a tangible effect.
Yeah, I tried that, Josh, and I was not able to change it. So regardless of the size of the OBS window as you're doing, it made no change in my output.
Okay. Yeah. Now it will affect, and what you want to, Peter, one thing you will want to keep an eye on is if you change the window, Zoom's window, you'll change your received input. So what it says here, send and receive, that will affect what you're receiving from someone in the active speaker or someone you have pinned.
Okay.
Because Zoom is watching you. Clever, yeah, interesting, nice find with the. So apparently, the way that Zoom is calculating this is they're going by the, I would say, their vertical size of the window. So it's a minimum vertical size of the window for them to send the 1080p. They're not going by apparently any other aspect ratio, because I can shrink the width and it doesn't matter. But if I shrink the height of it, then it crouches down. Yeah. So that's how they're calculating it through the vertical height of the window. Which there is a little thing, if you do screen scraping, there is a little trick that you can use. So if I go to gallery view, let's say if I wanted to capture the gallery view, and you're going to get some inception mode. It's not gonna, I can't really demonstrate it here because we don't have enough cameras online for enough boxes. Actually, here, let me start another camera. Maybe I can. Okay. So if we had enough to have a second page, which I might not have, you'll get the little arrows to change pages on the sides. And if you're screen scraping, those little boxes will be over top of your images, which may not be desirable for you. So one thing you can do is just manipulate the size of the image. And if you change the aspect ratio just enough, it's not doing it for me for the end. Typically for a 16:9, you can move the little left and right buttons away from the image to where they're not covering it. And then you'll have, a better screen scrape if you're looking to get the gallery view for your scrape.
Okay, that makes some sense. I haven't done any of that in a long time. So I know everything, every once in a while, Zoom changes stuff up on you. You got to start all over.
Right? Yeah. They are constantly in development and constantly changing. Now, I suppose that it's interesting with all of the things that we talked about that will limit your 1080p. Something had changed in our meeting. Maybe a participant entered or left. And for a time, at least, we were getting second screen. So I'm going to pin my screen and see, do I get 1080p in there? I do not. Another thing that can limit your end is your bandwidth. So if you don't have the sufficient bandwidth, then you won't get the full 1080p stream.
Yeah, it could be. I'm using my phone to connect today. So maybe that's why I'm only getting 720.
Yeah, and
although it looks perfectly good in the 720 to me, though.
Yeah, well, right, and it'll look good in 720p for everyone else too that you're watching, because we'll be in 720p as well. But hey, that's fine. It's fine. Yeah, do we still have 1080p? I don't think I've been able to latch on to a 1080p yet. And it could be if you're just not having enough videos to.
I've seen it bounce to. I've seen it bounce to 1080 for like a split second. It's there now.
Now earlier, I was spotlighting you,
and now it's not.
And that may have, I spotlighted you here. I wonder if that makes a difference.
It does. It'll put you in the crosshairs of a phone or a tablet that'll knock you down to 1080p. Oh, interesting. I was at 1080p, or I was receiving 1080p. Oh, until I remove the spotlight. Let's see, let me spotlight me again. Spotlight. And now I'm receiving 1080p. Where am I receiving it from? Oh, I'm getting it from Pete. That's what I'm getting it. So what happened is, by me going into Spotlight, what's happened is I've a device that would have canceled out the 1080p. Now I've taken the hit. So I'm only sending 720p because I'm in view of a phone or an iPad in HD mode. But I have Pete pinned, and right now he's at 1080p because I'm taking it. So if I remove Spotlight, what happens is Pete's out to dry. So it might be your phone, Joe. I wonder, Joe, can you turn your I think turn your camera off would do anything. Or Joe, rather. Sorry, Joe, you're is this the phone that we're watching you on, or is that your computer?
No, that's my laptop, but I'm using my phone bandwidth to connect.
Okay.
So no, I pinned Ray, and then I got 1080. Must be just you.
Yeah, I'm getting 1080. Well, now I'm sending and receiving 720.
Yeah, it's you, because when I pin Ray, I get the 1080. Cool.
Yeah, now I show that I'm sending. As soon as I started to talk, it went down to 720, but I was 1080.
Now I spotlighted Ray. So sorry, Ray. I put you in the crosshairs, and now Ray has been assassinated. Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it.
I'm sending. Thanks, Joe. I'm sending 720.
Right. And again, the reason why this is because if you're an active speaker or spotlit, that puts your video, that serves your video to a device that requires you to come off of 1080p. So you can hide in the shadows. If you're just in some place inside the Zoom meeting, it's one way of kind of sneakily capturing it. The problem is that as soon as someone speaks and goes into active speaker, they're going to get their 1080p drop down. There's not a literal sniper, Ray. You don't have to worry about that. So, yeah. So you can get someone as long as they don't say anything and come into active speaker, because as soon as they do, typically, if the phone decided to move its gaze and pin somebody else, pick on somebody else, then maybe active speaker would be in. So which devices are the phones? Is there anything that we can use for testing?
I have a Android here I can jump in with.
Okay. And there's Ray's. I'll let you in. And Joe's coming in. Now what that'll mean is definitely then anything an active speaker will not have a chance. So I'm getting 1080p from Pete because he's sitting quietly by the wayside, and there's no device.
It says I'm sending 1920 until I spoke. As soon as I spoke, it went down to 720.
Sending from which device?
I'm looking at my computer. My computer was 1080, until I started talking.
Okay, gotcha. So I'm receiving 720. Now here's what you can do. If you were to pin, if a phone was to pin Pete, right now I've got, I can show you. So right now I've got Pete in 1080p. If a phone, and now I'm sending 1080p too. So if a phone were to pin Pete, then it should knock it down to 720p.
Trying to figure out how to pin him.
There you go.
On my phone.
Pete got taken out. Is that because Spotlight? No, it's pinned. Receive now 1080p. Did we stop pinning him? There we go. Now he's 720p.
Okay.
This is Jeremy. I have him pinned on an iPhone 13.
Okay. Gotcha. So Pete, sorry about that. Pete, you've been taken down to 720p.
I only see Pete with a still image. Is that the Pete we're talking about?
It is. He's sending a video that only has a still image.
Oh, okay, that's different.
Yeah. Cool. So right now I'm sending to, oh, I spoke too soon. I'm an active speaker. So if you watch my video, as soon as someone else speaks, right now a phone has me in the display because I'm talking in active speaker. But if I stop speaking and someone else takes the active speaker away.
Okay, I'm going to speak now. All right, Joe's speaking. Ray's speaking. In fact, I can. So.
Yeah, I had it for a second, and then I must have got pinned by someone else because I'm off again.
Ray has us up on his teleprompter.
Right.
So you remember what to say, Ray? Teleprompter going on over there.
So there's 7 of you. Oh, and look, I have my own cup.
It's a cup prompter. So yeah, so that's basically, we've kind of demonstrated the way that Zoom works with the 1080p feeds. There's many reasons why you won't have it. There's one reason why you might. So provided you can stay away from all of the gotchas and devices, then you can have 1080p. It kind of, because of this, it kind of makes me think twice about workflows that require 1080p. You can imagine for a client work that you're trying to capture 1080p, you got to go through some pains to make sure that you don't have any disqualifiers in your chain if you're counting on capturing that 1080p image. The good news is that 720p is nearly as good, as long as you don't have any text, that needs to be legible. And so sometimes it might be simpler. I know as far as my Zoom room, for example, I can use far less resources to capture the 1080p than the 720p than the 1080p feed. Last week, did we try to do the activity in the breakout room test? Was that something we tried? So apparently there was some release notes on Zoom about, what was it? Yeah, so there was something about preview notifications, support full multi spotlight for cloud recordings. Oh, that was an interesting one I saw too. So support for multi spotlight for cloud recordings. Cloud recordings will recognize and record up to 9 spotlighted participants in a meeting or a webinar. Fantastic. So what we can do, we can test it here with as many video channels as we have. If you've ever done a cloud recording before, or local recordings are different because they see what the client sees. But cloud recordings, I've done DJ events where I've multi-spotlighted people in the DJ event. But when you get the cloud recording, guess what? You only get the first person that you spotlight in the recording. So if I spotlighted Ray, he's cutting a rug over there, and then I put Joe in afterwards, and then I put Pete in afterwards, the recording will only show Ray the whole time. Now, whenever you replace Ray with another spotlight, it'll change out from Ray to Pete. But so we can test that. Let's see.
Not quite sure what you're saying there.
So this has to do with cloud recordings and Spotlight. If you've ever watched back your recording in your cloud recording after you've recorded it, you'll notice that changes in the meeting, like the Spotlight, pin obviously only affects you, but Spotlight affects what everyone else sees. If you spotlight someone's video in a recording, you'll see that Spotlight video. The difference is when you multi-spotlight. So
okay, that's the difference.
Yeah, if you're if you're not aware, you can spotlight more than one person. But the recordings up until very recently only recorded the first person that you spotlighted. So all of your multi-spotlights, Zoom didn't pay any attention to them. Yeah, which makes for bad DJ videos. Yeah. So they want us to have better DJ videos. That's how I'm reading this. So what we can do is I'm going to spotlight Joe. Spotlight. I'm going to spotlight Joe again. So you add the spotlight, you'll have an additional person.
Oh, a double.
And then
cool.
Ray's going to call us in. I'm going to add spotlight for Pete. And this will be beneficial for those watching this recording back. Let's see. That's spotlight. So I've spotlit everyone, which is kind of pointless if you ask me. So let's see. It's like you highlight everything, nothing's highlighted. So let's remove spotlight. Okay, so I've done a 4-up, right? So this is a way from a cloud recording. You can do a 4-up or a 3-up or a 2-up using spotlight. Previously, you couldn't do this. You would only see the very first person you spotlight, and it would stay on the screen until that image changed. Now you can. So you DJs out there, Zoom's looking out for you. Yeah. But I mean, it's kind of a poor man's switcher, if you think about it. It's a pretty simple way of creating a custom look with boxes nonetheless, but custom look. So doing something with some symmetry, like a 2x2 or 3x3 or a 4x4, looks pretty decent. You can do up to 9 individuals. If we had 9 videos, we could test it. But watching back this video, and I wonder too, as far as the stream, does anyone know? Do the same rules apply to the stream as they do for cloud recording? I think. I remember when we tested focus mode, it did a funky thing for focus mode.
The stream is showing a 4-up right now.
Showing a 4-up. All right, fantastic. Yeah. So I don't know if that's a change for the stream. I don't know if it was like that before the stream, but I know with the cloud recording, it is a new change to Zoom.
Well, take somebody off the pin and we'll watch it go down to it.
Well, what I'll do is I'll remove one of you, Joe's. Let's see. So I'll remove
only one Joe left.
One Joe, and I'll replace you. Replace you with a Pete. There you go. So now Pete has joined our
And I'm watching the stream, and we'll see where it goes from there. And we'll wait our requisite 30, 40 seconds.
There we go. And it worked.
There you go. Yeah, it followed. Yeah, the stream followed what you did to the
Nice.
3 up.
So like I said, I don't know if this is new for the stream, but I know it's new for cloud recording, because I would give clients their, I'd be pinning up a storm for the DJ parties, and they'd get back and they'd see the one person in their pin. So yeah, fantastic. And up to 9, which I think is nothing new either. The maximum 9 pin 3x3 has always been a multi spotlight limitation. Fantastic. Well, that's all the things that I had planned. Is there anything else that we'd like to take a look at in the kitchen?
I had a third party question, and it was, hold on a second. I gotta bring up my what was it called? The meeting meters. Anybody use that recently? Because every time I've tried to use it, it says it's under maintenance. I don't know if anybody's tried to use that, or if you know what I'm referring to.
I do know what you're referring to. Yeah, that development has
petered out, so to speak.
Yeah,
run its course.
I know the developers of the meeting meters, and they ran into some issues with, what can I say? It's
Zoom figuring out what they're doing and stopping it.
Nah, I don't know that necessarily it was Zoom. It's just some of the ways of implementing that had some challenges to it. Ones that you probably wouldn't expect. And so I think they've kind of calmed down on that. The thing about it is, if you've got $50, I have.
You got it. If I get $50, then you got $50. No, what is that?
So you can use a portal to bring into a meeting and bump the
you can buy a portal
resolution up.
You can buy a portal for $50 these days.
That's what I got. The 8-inch. Is it 8-inch, 10-inch, 4? Yeah, this guy.
Okay, because I've used the meeting meters a couple of times, and each time I used it, I threw a few bucks their way, so I can just get that to take its place.
Yeah, I'd definitely be a fan of supporting the developers. I think it was just a problem with implementing that. There's restrictions and regulations due to, I honestly can't remember the details of it. I'm sure someone knows about it, but the developers came onto office hours and talked about some of the challenges they had in developing it. So I think they ran into a wall in that respect. Let's see.
I'll look into getting myself a portal.
Let's see, replace Spotlight. So I hit replace Spotlight, and now Joe, you have replaced us as the Spotlight. Yeah. Now I have my Zoom room too, which does the same thing. You could bring that in and juice the meetings. And now back to gallery view. So let's see what the stream is gonna do. I follow along at home. There we go. Okay. So yeah, sorry about that. It would be nice if the clients, there's an odd feature of Zoom. A neighbor of mine was having their weekly church services on Zoom, and I set them up with a Fire Cube to real simple remote control setup. Actually, Guy Cochran from the DV store had recommended it as a decent Zoom kit that you can plug in. I have to get the USB. There's a USB hub that you get that takes a micro B adapter in it, and they loved it. I mean, because they're not tech savvy at all, but just plug it into a little Amazon device, the little Fire Cube, runs off the remote control, has a little like talk into it Alexa service. In fact, after this, I'm probably going to run over there and fix them up with it. But of course, you don't need an account with Zoom to simply put in the credentials and join the Zoom meeting with it. But doing things like renaming yourself before you go into a meeting requires you have an account, which you wouldn't think is a thing, but I guess if I thought about it, it's probably Zoom trying to prevent people from making like unlimited Zoom bombings. So they require the minimum investment of an email account for you to have some type of identity, or changing your name to something that could be profane, going back to our original theme of, the features that we reached out for chat. Now that I think about it, I can sort of figure out why Zoom's done that. So you need some type of identity to just get into the Zoom client and do things like rename yourself. So the particular church service that they were attending would not let anonymous people in. And so showing up, it was a problem for them not having an account. So I told them, you just need a email address and you can register it. And not only can you have that access to the full capabilities of the client, but you can also save a previous meeting in history and just simply go to that one and turn it, instead of punching in the numbers for the meeting each time, you can just go back and use your call history to return to a meeting that's reoccurring, like weekly or such.
I have a question on that, Josh.
Sure.
So does that affect you as a host or co-host or alternate host, where you can rename yourself or someone in the Zoom call?
Are you saying if a FireCube type device comes into the meeting?
I'm not sure what a FireCube is. You were talking about allowing people to rename under certain conditions. If it becomes more restrictive on Zoom for us, is it going to be difficult for a co-host or co-host to do that?
Oh, I think I understand what you're saying. Yeah. So maybe I should explain. A FireCube is an Amazon device. It's like an Alexa type device, and it's capable of downloading the Zoom app and running it from the little Amazon device. So it's kind of like the Portal device, where you can get you can install Zoom on here. Although the thing is with this is you need to have, this is a Facebook, right? So this is a portal from Facebook, and Facebook requires that you either have a WhatsApp account or a Facebook account. So yeah, so there's that. In order to get the app on here to use this as your device, you need to have one or the other. I don't think there's a way around it. I would be interested to know if someone found out a way around it. But if you're not a big fan of Facebook or WhatsApp, then this might not be the best option for you unless someone knows a way around that. Now, the Amazon FireCube is just a little box about this big, and it simply has a remote control, and you plug it into a TV, has an HDMI port on it. You plug it into your TV as the viewing screen and use that microphone if you wanted to comment, and you can download the Zoom app on it and you can join a meeting. So someone that's not tech savvy, it's a nice solution, for setting them up with one of these boxes. And it was recommended by Guy from the DV store on office hours. So I picked one up because of what it was. The nice thing is if you got the little USB adapter to it, you could plug in your own camera, so your own webcam into it, and your own microphone. So you could plug in any USB audio device, in it. So you had decent audio and video from a like $100 device that you plug in. So a decent experience. The only problem that I was talking about as far as renaming is that if without signing into the application, you don't have the access to the tools, the taskbar or the menu that allows you to rename yourself. So someone that's an anonymous free account, if you're not signed in under some email address, I mean, that's not much registration, but having an email address associated with it, it's just a free account based off of an email address. That gives you the ability to change your name to coming into a meeting. And the reason why that's important is because lots of these, house of worships, and especially in Zoom times, they're not going to let just a no name into their meeting because of security reasons. So a minimum requirement, if you're helping somebody out with one of those devices, is to set them up with a free Zoom account, just based on their email address. And then they'll be able to get into the menu, set their name on it. And when they dial into a meeting, it'll show up in their history so they can come back into it. I think you asked a question about the host or co-hosts renaming individuals. Those settings are set into your Zoom settings for the meeting as far as whether you allow them. And if you look under security tabs, like right now, I have removed the panelists' ability to rename themselves. So if you tried to rename yourself right now in the security settings, you will not be able to do so unless you're a co-host.
Yeah, the option is not even there right now.
Right. And so that's under the security tab. Now, if I re-enable, so see, unmute themselves, rename themselves. So now I've re-enabled it. You should now have the ability to rename yourself. Alternately, it's a prudent security setting to leave that off, because someone can come into the meeting with an appropriate name and then change it to an inappropriate name. So by turning off that setting to allow people to rename themselves, you eliminate that security threat of them changing the name or being a troublemaker and then changing their names to something to where you can't find the person that caused the trouble or showed inappropriate video or those sorts of things.
I'm about ready to say goodbye, gentlemen. Thank you for the conversation.
Likewise, Joe and Pete. If there's anything else, I think we can wrap things up.
No, I think the next time we come around, I want to look into NDI with Zoom.
Okay. Sounds good. I do have a Zoom room and ZoomISO, so we could test that next time. All right, folks, that's going to do it for the Zoom Test Kitchen. Take care. Sorry,
have a good day.
No fancy music. Didn't want to get any copyright strikes.
No. Have a good day, everyone.
We'll see you later.